Welcome to the 700 Club. Major power shift in Syria. Russia is patrolling the border, filling the void left by American troops. What's the possible fallout? Senator Lindsey Graham joins us with his take on the surging crisis. But first, here's Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem.
While fighting continues in some areas along the Turkish-Syrian border, Turkey's invasion has in many places been stopped. The reason? Russia now patrols the border area once patrolled by U.S. forces just days ago. They even went through a former U.S. base. The change marks a major power shift in this critical region. Yet the Turkish invasion has caused a huge humanitarian disaster, with up to 160,000 people displaced and in need. Some humanitarian aid organizations have made it to the war zone. CBN's George Thomas is inside Syria, where Operation Blessing is partnering with the Barzani Charity Foundation.
So today they're distributing close to about 20,000, check this out, close to about 20,000 blankets. They have about 5,000 boxes of food. They've got thousands upon thousands of bottled water and other essential supplies. This is all very critical. The estimates are that they're going to be able to use these materials at least for a month, that way to sort of get through this difficult transition. And this is only going to be one of many convoys that Operation Blessing and Barzani Charity Foundation are partnering together.
On the diplomatic front, while President Erdogan vows to continue his offensive, Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo are on their way to meet with Erdogan to demand a stop of the Turkish invasion and to come to the negotiating table. In Washington, Congress is working to pressure Erdogan with what Senator Lindsey Graham has called Iranian-type sanctions. Graham has been critical of the pullout and told Fox News' Bret Baier he wants to work with the president and his plan.
I blame Turkey. I'm looking to President Trump to fix this. He's got a good plan. I hope Erdogan will listen to the vice president. I want a good relationship with Turkey, but I'm going to introduce sanctions next 2 days from now with Democrats that would hit Turkey hard.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, Senator Lindsey Graham is with us now from the U.S. Congress. Senators, great to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I understand Erdogan won't meet with Mike Pence. Is that true?
I don't know, but Erdogan's not your friend. Pat, you've done a great job. To your viewers, if we are not praying for the Kurds, we should all be ashamed of ourselves. It was the Kurds who worked with the American military to destroy ISIS. If we abandon the Kurds, it will be dishonorable. It will be a disaster. So Erdogan invaded Turkey. He has, Syria. He has created a vacuum for ISIS to come back. The Kurds cannot fight Turkey and control the 10,000 ISIS prisoners. I am looking to President Trump to change this. I will do anything I can to help him, but I will also become President Trump's worst nightmare. I will not sit alone on the sidelines and watch a good ally of the Kurds be slaughtered by Turkey and watch Iran move into Syria and become another nightmare for Israel. This is a defining moment for President Trump. He needs to up his game.
Well, I have suggested that there be a Trump declaration like the Balfour Declaration to say there's a homeland for the Kurds, let's give them a country. Is that too much to hope, or am I exceeding my bounds here?
Well, your admiration for the Kurds is well justified. That's probably not the play right now. The play right now is to stop the slaughter. If they move into Kobani, if Turkey moves into Kobani, you're going to have an atrocity worse than ISIS. What does the average American care? ISIS is an enemy to mankind. They would kill everybody listening to this broadcast because you're an infidel. They're not going to surrender. If you think you can leave the Mideast as an American and we'll be safe, that's crazy. If you think Russia and Iran is going to take care of U.S. interests, that's insane. So the reason I like the Kurds so much, they destroyed the caliphate, but there's 20,000 ISIS fighters. If they come back, they're coming here. And the only way to be safe here is to have some of our troops partnering with the Kurds. And finally, it would be so dishonorable for this country to abandon the Kurds. And the Iranians, Pat, are ready to move into Syria to take the oil fields, and that would undercut everything President Trump has done to contain the Iranians and a nightmare for Israel.
Lindsey, you have understood this situation, and I think we both have, and we're both grieved when you think of, for example, that Kyrgyz oil. That is one of the biggest oil deposits in the world, and of course, we're going to give that up and say, no, you can't have it?
So here's what I talked to Mazloum last night. He's the leader of the Kurdish military. I'm going to try to get him on your show. Okay. You need to hear how desperate he is. He doesn't want to partner with Assad. Partnering with Assad is like partnering with Iran. But he has no choice right now. We have left him high and dry. And when I hear President Trump say, let's just get out of the Mideast, we'll be fine, that's Elizabeth Warren politics. What did we learn from Iraq? If we leave against sound military advice, the radical Islamists come back. You may be tired of fighting radical Islam, but they're not tired of fighting you. The only way to be safe is to keep them over there so they don't come here. I'd rather have partners than do it alone. This is a defining moment for President Trump. We need to stand by the Kurds. We need to push Turkey out of Syria, have a safe zone, keeping the Kurds and Turkey apart. And we need to partner with the Kurds regarding the oil field. I proposed last night a joint venture between the Syrian Democratic Forces and the United States, controlling the oil for their benefit and ours, not Iran's.
All right, look, we've got 50 tactical nuclear weapons at Incirlik in Turkey. Erdogan is really in control of that now, isn't he? Or how do we get that huge air base? Are we going to just abandon that, or is Erdogan going to take it away from us?
Over my dead body. I miss Ronald Reagan. Pat, you're old enough to know what American strength looks like. Do you think Erdogan would have done this if Reagan had been around? Do you think Assad would have done what he had done if Reagan had been around? So this is Trump's chance, my friend, to be like Ronald Reagan. We've got a pair of aces, and they've got a pair of twos. Give me a break. The Turkish economy is feeble. I applaud President Trump's sanctions against Turkey, a 50% tariff on Turkish steel. I'm going to introduce sanctions tomorrow with Democrats that are going to be sanctions from hell. They're going to be like Iranian sanctions against Turkey. I'm going to break this thug's back. We're going to stand by the military. And to President Trump, if you're listening to this interview, if you remove all of our forces from Syria, you're throwing the Kurds over, ISIS will come back on your watch, and Iran will take over, and you, my friend, will be in great jeopardy of losing an election we can't afford you to lose. So don't be like Obama, be like Reagan, stand up to Erdogan.
Lindsey, that's some pretty hard words. You think the president's going to listen to you? I hope he does.
Well, I hope so, and here's what will matter. People like you. You know, you're a rock star. You're a 90-year-old rock star. In my world in South Carolina, when you speak, people listen. And people are inherently fair. They're tired of the Mideast. I got it. But the Mideast is not tired of you. Can you imagine what would happen if we let Iran come into Syria? That would be another front that Israel has to defend against. Iran wants the oil. They want to destroy Islam they want to purify Islam in their image, and they want to kill all the Jews and us. So this can be prevented with less than 1,000 troops. The good news, President Trump has destroyed ISIS with 2,000 soldiers because 60,000 Kurds and Arabs did the fighting for us. It would be a shame to abandon that model and to throw these people over who fought and died by over 10,000 Kurds died. We cannot do that. It will be a shame on our honor. And as you said, the mandate from heaven would be lost. And you are right.
Amen. Well, Lindsey, all right, what's the legislative agenda? You have Chris Van Hollen working with you on these sanctions. You think the Congress, I mean, is the president going to veto that once he comes through, or will he sign the bill? Oh, I'm sorry, Lindsey. If you put on the sanctions from Congress, is the president going to sign off on those sanctions?
Went away, huh?
We lose the.
I think we lost the signal.
We lost this.
Looks like we lost it.
Oh man. You're back with me, Lindley. What I was asking you, you and I think Chris Van Hollen are going to put together this sanctions package in the Congress. Will the president sign off on that if you pass it?
Can't hear.
Can't hear me. I'm sorry.
What do you think? Do you think the president will, Pat?
Well, yeah, I think he will, but I don't know. He said he wants to. It's just an amazing thing. He says, okay, he's on the telephone with Erdogan. Erdogan said, I'm going to go in. And he said, well, basically, it's Syria. I don't really care if Napoleon is in there. I mean, that was the statement. So Erdogan thinks, okay, you let me come in. But he did it on three things. He couldn't hurt religious minorities, he couldn't hurt civilians, and he couldn't set up a disaster. He's done all three of those things. And so now they're very mad. I think Senator Graham's back with me again. I'm sorry we lost some power. Well, what I was asking, if you have a sanctions package passed through the Congress, do you think the president is going to sign it?
Yeah, I think so. The president's put sanctions on, but I'm going to go further. My sanctions would sanction Erdogan and his family and find out how much money he's stolen from the Turkish people. My sanctions would go after their energy sector, where they get most of their money. It would take the two top Turkish banks in the world and say you can't do business with those banks as long as Erdogan's in Syria. They're a NATO ally. I'd like to have a good relationship, but we're not going to let Erdogan slaughter the allies that helped us defeat ISIS, the Kurds. We're not going to give Iran part of Syria to make a nightmare for Israel. And at the end of the day, my friend, this is a defining moment for President Trump. I ask everybody to call into their member of Congress and their senator to support my sanctions bill that will be introduced tomorrow, and pray that President Trump will make a good decision here.
Well, Lindy, we'll pray for you. As I say, you are up to date on this, and I'm so glad that our friends, the Kurds, have such a staunch ally. And the fact that you say this may well, our attitude toward these Kurds and the minorities may affect the next election, that should get somebody's attention at the White House.
Well, Christians are going to be in peril because Erdogan is he's on a mission here to ethnically cleanse the Syria along his border. The Christians have been well taken care of by the Kurds. That's about to come to an end. And all the soldiers who fought with the Kurds and trained with the Kurds, the American soldiers, their heart is broken. Mr. President, do not become Obama. Stand up to Erdogan. Get him out of Syria and have a force left behind to prevent Iran from coming in and to make sure the Kurds are protected and ISIS does not come back. You can do that with less than 1,000 troops. If you don't, you're making a bigger mistake than Obama did in Iraq.
Lindsey, great word. Thank you, sir. Senator
God bless
Lindsey
you,
Graham,
sir.
a brilliant voice.
So brilliant. And I just don't understand, Pat, why Trump would risk his great record with getting rid of ISIS, which he was so proud of and talked about many times, by allowing Erdogan to go into Syria.
He doesn't understand the role the Kurdish Peshmerga have played. They have been our allies since the first invasion into Iraq. They have fought, they have bled, they have died on our behalf. And Secretary Mattis resigned because of the attitude toward the Kurds. We know what wonderful people they are. Erbil is a thriving city of Western values. These people share our hopes and dreams, and they deserve their own country.
One of our reporters, Chuck Holton, is on the scene there, and he interviewed a nurse and in Syria, and she says that the people that are most suffering are the civilians and children. And so we know that it's really catastrophic.
Well, you remember Obama said, if you use chemical weapons against your people, that's the red line. So Bashir Assad did just that. He gassed his own people, and Obama did nothing. And here we've got the situation where these loyal allies, and as Lindsey Graham said, there's no other country on earth that's going to be supporting America if we do this to these Kurds. So anyhow, thank you, Senator Graham. He's a pretty forceful advocate, and we pray that his sanctions bill, he's going tough.